everyone again. I know it's been a little while since I've been on here and looking at Grieg, but I thought we'd try and dive back into it today. Um, get back on top of this analysis, hopefully get close to the end of completing quite a thorough analysis, really, before probably trying to turn it into something like a bit of a write-up, a bit of a report, whatever you want to call it, for any old music website. So just to cover what we've covered so far. That's strange. Find that. So obviously we've been through the score here. We started off by trying to identify sort of the melodic sort of phrases and what what material was part of those phrases, if you like, trying to identify like themes 1, 2, contrasting themes, things like that, and we've labeled them up. So down here we should have a bit of a transition, and then we get this second thematic idea. We sort of identified some kind of motivic relationships, sort of linking qualities in that, I think, first couple of episodes looking at this. And then what did we do after that? I think we did harmony. Well, we technically started putting it into a table, but we'll use that as an overview in a second. A little after that, we obviously went through and used Grieg's piano arrangement of Morning Mood and attempted to form both a chordal analysis, although I didn't actually show the chordal analysis because I ended up not clicking, just checking my phantom powers on now. It is, so we should be okay. Yeah, we've got an icon on the bottom left. I didn't have the phantom power on, so I ended up having a silent video of me putting these numerals in, not Roman numerals, chord symbols, and then after that, the week after, we went over those chord symbols and just quickly put in the Roman numerals, which sort of revealed an emphasis on mediant and submediant relationships, just diatonic largely, and that was both within progressions and across kind of modulations. As we see here, there's submediant there, but then we also go to G sharp major. I suppose no, that isn't chromatic mediant, is it? Say G sharp's within the key of E, so yeah, it goes to the mediant. There are still some of the old classic dominant relationships as well. He often saves them for kind of closure, if you like. Ultimately, he reaches the dominant here by going mediant, and then I suppose that's a chromatic mediant in G sharp. You'd expect a B sharp, so that relationship is chromatic there. And then yeah, works his way through. Probably need to review some of this actually, ready for writing up on harmony. But then yeah, ends with some fives as well to bring that kind of closure to the end of the movement. So yeah, it's been nice looking at it. It's relatively straightforward, but there's, I think with most great composers, just the simplicity has nuance and kind of, I don't know, there's a clean sort of, I won't say logic necessarily, but there's just hit my microphone there. There's something about it. I don't know how to describe it at the moment, this Monday morning. But anyway, today I thought we'd look at orchestration. And to do that, I'm going to use a technique. I'm going to continue my tabular analysis. Actually, I should have shared that quickly. So when we were doing all those sort of that work, we have been sort of putting it into a tabular analysis like this. But what we're going to do today with the orchestration is attempt to annotate first, and if we get time, put it into the here. And we're going to use what I've been sort of looking at recently with my students in Introduction to Orchestration, where we look at 3 parts of a texture and come to better understand orchestration through those 3 layers. So foreground would be like your main melody, middle ground would be counter melody if there is one, or some kind of interesting moving part, perhaps, which sort of is elevated within the orchestration and texture beyond the background, which is simply kind of a unit, that a bed on which these upper parts exist upon. Obviously, it could become a bit more difficult. I don't think there's anything too major in this where there's like contrapuntal textures, things like that, which could cause a bit as a bit of an issue in terms of it starts fragmenting what's of interest. But we'll cross that bridge if we get to it. But yeah, hopefully this will become a bit more clear as we start to go through the score. So basically, obviously, I've got red for foreground, green for middle ground, and blue for background. Hopefully I'll remember those colours when we get into this. But yeah, so I've already dropped a little box in. Unfortunately, I was hoping to like just do, nice kind of opaque highlighting with like a highlight, but it doesn't really work very well in Max Preview. Should probably find a better means of annotating scores, a better piece of software than Preview. But it's been okay this time. So yes, obviously diving straight in then, we've used red for foreground, and we'd say this melody right here is the foreground. And that's useful to know. It's a solo flute, which is quite significant. So a solo flute, Grieg's put the solo part on one instrument. And then we have the background, and we could just simply box all of this really. Whether it could be worth kind of boxing these as blue. Yeah, it was blue. And then adding these later just to highlight that they're not playing all the time. This flute and horn seems to just come in at this kind of phrase and this cadence, just add a bit of colour and a weight to the cadence there, which is something that does occur regularly in orchestrations. We then have a nice contrast, so it's just pity this line doesn't start on the next page actually. But anyway, red there for the oboe, and then this unit of strings down here. We should start to see when we look over this in a little while how Grieg is quite simply using plain orchestration colours to, at least in this opening, really make clear the contrast. So we've got strings in the background now, and we'll go back to woodwinds here. From my box. There we go. Oh. Not really got any middle ground yet. I don't think there's too much middle grounded stuff in this piece in terms of counter melody and stuff. Put that down there. But really, it'll matter for our tabular analysis. I forgot we had these boxes. Hopefully this won't get too messy. It's any problem. That's why I would preferred the highlighter thing, but I couldn't figure out how to do it on here. So I'm just going to blend in a bit. Get it round there. Yeah, so setting up these juxtapositions in the orchestration between woodwinds and strings, but is also always keeping the melody on woodwinds. So I'll contrast in the double reed with the flute in the form of the oboe and the flute. So this should be quite interesting when we go over and start to put this into our table. I've just been circling the table with my mouse, which you can't see obviously because I'm not sharing it at the moment. Yeah, and then we have these quicker contrasts. Yeah. Yeah, we have quite a quick juxtaposition. This material. It looks like we're going to have a change in a moment. The background just becomes a little more dense, if you like. All together. Much nicer with the highlighted. Quite simple. We're not really at the moment in the background really trying to figure out the units of the background, because you can have things doing different. May as well have just boxed all of them, haven't I? Trying to figure out what's where. It's not really doubled the foreground very much until here. I've had those solo instruments. He does have an octave double in there, but it goes nice and low. Limbo low. Foreground. There's just some kind of movement there, but we've always put that as the background, haven't we, really? The early ones. Background, we need a box. Yeah, not hanging about. We're making some good progress here. I suppose it's quite straightforward. He's orchestrating around the kind of form that he's presenting. So nice and clean in terms of yeah, just clean in terms of he's got a melody, so he orchestrates it one way, that melody ends, and then he's repeating the melody in a contrasting way, nice and straightforward, and then back again or to something else. What was I going to say about this? It could be interesting to see the voice in here, sort of. What you would call it? Stacked juxtapositional voicing. What's that clarinet in there? Yeah, so flutes on top, oboes below that, clarinets below that, and then bassoons on the old bass line on the bottom note. So clean juxtapositional woodwind voicing. Probably go to there for the moment because we have a change of theme and we'll gather our thoughts. I don't know what we class that as in the end. I suppose it's. I can't remember if we class this as part of the melody. I suppose it's the most interesting part, really. So we should foreground it. Well, I might have to have a quick listen. I suppose we could put middle ground. Yeah, I might do that. I think that could be right. We could always change it if I decide again later. So we've got a middle ground there. And I would probably put these violin figures as middle ground, because they are of interest, outlining a kind of motion, but still harmonic function. Green, that's very bright green. I don't want that green. Dark. Good greens in here. Let's have a look. All right. Trusty. A bit better. I'll do, I think. Sort of. I'll close that down. Yeah, agree. Yeah, I got that. I would say that's middle ground, perhaps. Yeah, because they're in thirds, aren't they, as well? So not like doubling each other to make themselves nice and prominent. And then we'd probably say this is the start of the melody, second melody. Just me. I mean, it's quite clunky. I would have preferred the highlighter box, but workman never blames his tools. So like I said, we're just trying to figure out what's background, what's foreground. That tells us a lot, just nice and quickly, really, I think. And then we can sort of, if we want to, look at the orchestration a little closer to see what's going on within those units. So I want the green box, red box, and blue box. Here. In some respects, that's doubling that, but yeah, sort of the bass note as well, isn't it? I think. Yes, we're making decent progress. Middle ground again. I mean, it's been quite straightforward sort of orchestration so far, really, if you think about it. It's yeah. It's clear effort to use like numbers of the orchestra to bring out these dynamics. Less instruments playing through those sort of pianos and more through the fortes. Makes sense. And across, clunky into it, but there we go. Still the middle ground. Or at least I would say that is the case. There's sometimes a case for kind of reversing the middle ground and foreground. So you've interpreted it incorrectly, if you think, or whatever. I might hear a version that brings one out more than the other, and a recording or something. Might make you change your mind. Either way, differentiating them from the background, which is the main thing, just to make sure that we know Grieg has put something in the middle. In looking at the cello and its register, you say that's got to be quite prominent, and it's very kind of melodic, whereas the movement is kind of decorative, but which gives it a bit of prominence, I suppose, but is harmonic. Like I said, they're not doubling each other at the unison or octave. But like I said, they are moving more than these background chords that are just providing the harmonic weight, if you like, or power. cooking on gas here. To go through it in a moment now and try and get some of it or as much of it into the table as we can. So yep, still got this middle ground. And this foreground in the cello. So my restless leg. Probably have my chair tap in then. Wife would be losing it at me if I was sat next to her. So I shake my leg. Hitting me under the table or something. Having a go at me. Anyway, that's a digression. So this is a nice, interesting change and another contrast. Probably something that I've missed actually. I'm going through this, so this is why I like. Oh, we're gonna have a. What do we think then? Because this sort of looks like the other figure. Nah, that's got to be background, isn't it? It's changed the texture up here, and we are starting to get like. It's brought back this A melody again. Number one melodies, we've called it theme one, the seventh iteration. That's including some transitions and stuff. But we have this kind of emphasis on, I think it's second inversion chords, wasn't it? On the harmony X lesson or analysis, annotation, whatever you want to call it. That's our middle ground then. And then I'll put these as background, part of the background texture. These separating stuff out quite nicely here. Got brass, French horn on the melody, woodwinds providing that middle ground. Obviously the bassoons come in here, but the strings are providing the background, so kind of homogeneous group on the background there. And that keeps going, obviously, as we'd expect in this. Could have just boxed all of them, couldn't I? I'll use two boxes. God, inefficient boxing. Suppose technically we have a little bit of background of a clarinet there, sort of. As a background. Yeah, maybe we'll sort of lose the foreground there. I don't think what happens here. I'm trying to remember in my head. Yeah, I think that's okay. I won't say it's anything really dominating. There's no melody. If anything, is sort of taking the melody away to build a kind of anticipation. The foreground sort of left, and we're just left with a hazy middle and background, waiting for something to occupy the front of the orchestration there, which I've never really thought about as a technique actually. So that's quite interesting. Whether we'll be able to capture that in our tabular analysis, might make an effort to, or at least add it to the notes when we get to that point. So here is nicely contrasting. So if we keep this semi-quaver idea in the there, We now have some doubling as well. So we've got a bassoon doubling the cellos at the unison. Contrast. Whoa. Very rambunctious. There. Oh, there's also the oboe there. Look, that's nice. Oboe melody as well, doubling an octave above. I'd say these woodwinds are in the background. Pianissimo, staccato, just adding a bit of colour to the background texture. So we've got a mixture of things going on in the background, some held tones, some short pizzicatos and staccatos, still that kind of chari melody kind of figure, bass, and then the parts with the offbeats. Continues onto this page. Copy these. And it continues for a little while. There's a change of orchestration. I'll find that in a second as we go along. Bassoon's still there. There's a bit more. Probably shouldn't have picked red, having done all the other reds. Might get a bit confusing, but we'll see. And then background. Gap there. So I'm playing part in this. Could have just pulled down there like that. There we go. Oh, he would just put that bar there, so I have to do it a bit more on this one. Oh, gosh. There's a bit of change. So a bit of a small transition. Cello falls into the background. And then we have a change. Focus on the string ensemble, string orchestra. So we get ready here. Then it goes to clarinet. Color contrast to the opening. We're heading to the end now, aren't we? Is that right? Yeah, not far away. But probably means we're going to add more boxes because it gets a bit fragmentary towards the end. What do I want here? Probably say all of that's background, really. Probably the most prominent part would be the bass, listening back. That's just, I think, what we hear the most, isn't it? Those outer voices. But whether I'd really want to highlight that as a middle ground, possibly not. especially given the homogeneity of the whole texture, really, or orchestration rather. Well, we would have to say that's the foreground. Using motifs there. Could perhaps put these winds as a kind of middle ground, a little decorative elements. We'll do that. I want the green box there. Loops on tops. And the oboe below by an octave. Usually suggests a kind of prominence, doesn't it? There, the fact it's in octaves. Boxes across on the next page. So similar kind of pattern in the orchestration. Do I need a middle ground? I will do up there, won't I? Strings in the background. Foreground, even though it looks quite similar to that middle ground there. Right. Put a box around all of these. There we go. Did up there. Inconsistent. I'll just do that down here. There is a kind of clear juxtaposition again between this little figure and the colours of the melodic ideas. Has he done the same here? Then kind of just, we say there's necessarily a foreground and background. This whole, maybe the top of that. I'm not sure. I'd have to listen back now. I tend to call it all kind of background, like earlier when he took the melody away, to leave a bit of space for the melody to come in. Gosh. Had a thunderstorm last night that woke me up. Wondering why I'm yawning. Quite loud. Right overhead at one point, I think, pretty much. Certainly felt like it noise-wise. Don't really have any middle ground at the end here, I don't think. Box. Get it if we need it. And then the end is just a kind of homophonic set of chords. So just say all neither background nor foreground really. So, or, not, but I don't really want to box it as middle ground because that's weird as well. It's just they're all occupying a kind of equal status to come to the end. Nice balanced chord to finish. So I'm not sure how I'd label that. So then, I've got both of these. And start to label our tabular analysis, which we'll try and do quickly now. See how far we get. We'll get through it all. And obviously we had flute. I think these are all built around the same sort of thing. Yeah. Flute, no middle ground. I'll use full names. Probably do some details on the texture. Maybe should have added a thing for that. Let's have a look. Insert column to the left. The table quite big though, a bit less easy to look at in one kind of well, I suppose I could on a full screen see it, but here it's going to be a struggle. I don't think I need any color in that. Chords in the background. Block harmony. Sometimes I call it padding actually. Then we have the oboe, R5, alongside a string orchestra. Double bass. Easier than writing all the strings out. See, could be nice detail. No. Oops. Just a viola divide eventually. Nope, it stays group. That'll be enough detail anyway. No middle ground again. Top of these. Actually, nice. Oh yeah, we've got our little coloration, haven't we, at the end? Could add that detail in. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to use my shorthand here. 2 clarinets, 2 bassoons, 2 harmony. If that makes sense, that'll probably not make any sense to me, as my annotations often do. When I look back at them, what are you talking about? Ask George. Oboes. Things again. I don't think he has double basses now. This nice back and forth. For this section, and how do we label this? 17 to 21. 21's there, and then there's the change. Yeah, so there's a bit of a back and forth. So we could put that as flute as oboe. Flute one, oboe one, flute one. Say it's just one on that part, make it nice and clear. It's not a background, it's got a big background texture, wasn't it, I think. I need to add that, yeah. Two. Use my shorthand for strings there. I don't know how he's numbering these horns actually. Let's see if it says no. I don't know if they're 3 and 4 or 2 and 4. I'd probably say 2 and 4. Two B at 13, 16, 17, 9, 20. So it's kind of a versus thing, isn't there? That might just highlight that there. Probably should add that detail there as well. Then we have a nice big string. Woodwinds. It's the whole group. Horns. Timpani does a little bit of timpani. So we've added probably a texture and then details as well. Maybe I don't know, just separate out since we've started to develop this block harmony thing. Still no middle ground really yet, so that just carries on until we get to. Is that right? Now let's check that 21. Yeah, 24. Something happens. carries on. Transitions, not until we get 20, 30. Oh, my numbering's not quite right there. I don't remember if that's to do with it's counting on the count group 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So that should be about 30. This is something different in the piano that I've not spotted. And the 30 things change, and we have a change in sort of texture and orchestration as a result as well. So VC, cello. Slightly, there's a bit of space. Orchestration changes a bit for this texture section, doesn't it? Yeah. I struggle to capture it in the table without adding more rows. Hmm. Hmm. Have more rows. Sure, I'll have to think about that. You know what? As you can see, we're doing this now, building this out. And that's you get the general idea of the approach. I'll have to think about what I would do with this, whether I'll add more rows or not, things like that. But you get the general idea of this approach to orchestration analysis, and then hopefully next week we'll come back and I might have filled this all out so we can move on to something else. Well, I don't really know what's left other than for me to kind of. I suppose we could look at the sort of insides of the background and things like that. What's going on? But it's quite straightforward through places. A lot of it. So I'm not sure. So I'll have to think about that too. But anyway, I need to round this video off. I've been doing it for about 3/4 of an hour. I need to go and do some other things as well anyway. So thanks for joining me. Hopefully it's proved insightful into how you could break down an orchestration of something, different approach, or perhaps you've got a similar approach to me. You're just looking for affirmation. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again another day. Bye-bye.